I built an entire healthcare tech empire from nothing, with nothing but an old beaten-up laptop and an unshakable will. Just last month, the company was valued at $200 million. I thought I had finally earned their recognition. But no. Yesterday, my parents quietly transferred full ownership to my sister, making her the CEO and leaving me with nothing. They looked me straight in the eyes and coldly said, "You were just the one who laid the foundation." I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I simply pulled out my phone and made one call. And the way the color drained from their faces as if the blood had been sucked from their bodies when they realized what I had just done was the moment I'd been waiting for my entire life. Before we dive into today's dramatic and unexpected story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. And leave a comment to let us know where you're watching from. Now let's follow this bitter, calculating tale filled with shocking twists that will leave everyone speechless. My name is Nora Blake, and 10 years ago, I used lines of code and a burning will to weave a dream. My fingers dancing across a laptop in a small apartment, I built Vital Sync Solutions, a healthcare tech company that grew from a spark of grief to a beacon valued at $200 million. Last month, as I stood in my parents' dining room, their eyes met mine. My mother, Evelyn, and father, Richard, announced that they had transferred ownership to my sister, Lila, who is now the CEO. "You were the builder, Nora." They said, their voices as cold as steel, but Lila will lead. My heart, a fragile engine of hurt and hope, stuttered. But I didn't crumble. Instead, I made a single phone call, watching their faces go white as the weight of my decision set in a silent storm, starting a battle for what I'd created. When I was 8 years old, technology was my haven, a haven of circuits and logic where I found comfort while others chased games under the sun. I would disassemble old computers, my tiny hands meticulously tracing the wires, fascinated by the harmony each piece created. Lila, 3 years older, had woven her world in the spotlight cheerleading student council, her charm a currency that bought our parents' pride. Richard and Evelyn, both astute entrepreneurs, ran a consulting firm, their success a polished frame around Lila's social triumphs. And they dismissed my quiet hours with code. Computers are tools. Nora Richard would say, his tone full of judgment, "People make the difference." Those words carved an invisible hierarchy, Lila's flair elevated above my precision, a wound that quietly bled through my childhood. I wrote my first app in high school. It was a straightforward tool to track prescriptions for my grandmother Clara, whose heart condition made it difficult for her to take her medications. When I showed it to my parents, my chest tight with hope, Richard hardly looked at it and instead asked Lila about her debate team victory. That night, Clara called, her voice shaking with gratitude. "Your app stopped me from mixing pills, Nora. You're my guardian angel." Her words were a seed, planting a purpose that would blossom into Vital Sync. My parents' lack of interest hurt, but Clara's joy was a light guiding me through their shadow. I threw myself into learning. My nights were spent coding. My days were spent earning. I focused on my studies while Lila's fame grew. She received a prom queen title and a scholarship for leadership, which were celebrated with dinners to which I was hardly invited. I chose computer science at university at the age of 20, defying Evelyn's insistence that I go to business school. "Tech's a service, Nora," she said over a heated dinner. "Lila's learning to lead companies, not just work for them." Her words stung, but I remained silent, my resolve a quiet fire. Lila successfully completed her MBA and secured a corporate position through our parents' connections while I grappled with graduate school, refining my initial app into a drug interaction prediction system for my thesis. My advisor urged commercialization, but I hesitated. The dream too raw, and Clara's death, a preventable error at her nursing home, broke that hesitation. While surviving on instant noodles and sleepless nights in my garage apartment, I developed Vital Sync, a platform designed to bridge gaps in patient care, and made a commitment to never allow another life to fall through the systemic gaps. For 8 months I coded in solitude, my savings drained, my credit cards maxed. When I sought a small investment from my parents, they refused. "Healthcare's crowded," Richard said, "and hospitals resist change. Be practical." Nora Lila, now thriving in her corporate job, suggested I join her company as a junior analyst. Her offer, cloaked in kindness, felt like a dismissal of my vision. I took a personal loan instead, the risk a mountain I climbed alone. 12 failed pitches later, Dr. Elena Voss, a physician frustrated by her clinic's inefficiencies, saw my prototype's promise. Her pilot program slashed prescription errors by 40% and boosted patient adherence by 25%. Word spread like wildfire, and Vital Sync caught the industry's eye. My phone buzzed with inquiries, a chorus of possibility. When our first $1 million investment round closed, my parents' tone shifted. Richard called probing about equity. Evelyn proposed a celebratory dinner, and Lila texted, "Always knew you'd shine," though she'd never said so before. That dinner, their sudden interest, a spotlight too late, stirred a mix of pride and exhaustion. They toasted to Nora, who's found her way, the word, finally, a subtle barb. I smiled, hiding that Vital Sync had just inked deals with 3 hospital systems, tripling our valuation's horizon. Evelyn suggested Lila as a consultant. She's restless at work, and her business skills could help. Deflected, sensing a seed of danger, but the weight of their approval so long withheld clouded my judgment. Over the next 3 years, Vital Sync grew from my garage to a downtown tech hub, our team expanding from me to 70 each, hire a thread in a tapestry of expertise. Developers, clinicians, security specialists. Our platform became a lifeline, cutting readmissions, errors, and costs. My life blurred into 16-hour days, missed holidays, and a failed romance sacrificed to my mission. My health frayed headaches, sleeplessness, a body running on fumes. Yet every hospital's praise, every patient's life touched, fueled my fire even as Lila's shadow began to creep closer. A storm I didn't yet see. As Vital Sync's growth blazed brightly, its light spread across hospitals, saving lives with every line of code I'd poured from my heart. However, as the company's valuation soared past $50 million, a shadow grew. Lila's presence, her charm weaving a net I hadn't seen tightening. My parents, Evelyn and Richard, began to linger closer, their voices weaving tales of our family's success, as if my solitary nights of coding were theirs to claim. As Lila's name began to resonate in boardrooms and client calls, the pain of their previous neglect began to pulse beneath my pride. I stood at my office window, the city's pulse below a mirror, to mine feeling the weight of a storm, brewing one that would test the roots I'd planted in Vital Sync's soil. Lila's curiosity sharpened like a blade, and she showed up at industry summits with a beaming smile, introducing herself as Nora's sister, her words laden with implied partnership. During a healthcare tech conference, a client expressed, "Your sister has a deep understanding of your platform," with a tone that was both warm and unsettling. Lila had discussed revenue streams and market strategies, details she had learned from my briefings rather than from contributions. I smiled. She's observant. But my stomach turned, sensing her steps on ground I'd carved out on my own. At family dinners, the table became a platform for her questions about client contracts, board dynamics, and growth projections, all presented as curiosity but sharp with intent. Evelyn smiled. Lila's corporate savvy adds such depth. And Richard nodded. Her insights could steer Vital Sync higher. Their praise, a well-known song, drowned out my voice, reducing my role as founder to a footnote in their story. The pressure to include Lila grew a tide I couldn't hold back. Vital Sync needs business expertise, Richard urged during a visit to my office, his eyes scanning the sleek space I'd built. Lila's at a career crossroads, and family lifts family, Evelyn echoed. You've done wonders, Nora. But sharing success strengthens it. Their words, cloaked in unity, pressed against my resolve. Exhaustion from 80-hour weeks softened my edges, and I craved their approval, a hunger from childhood that never faded. Against my team's wary glances, I created a director of business development role for Lila, convincing myself her skills could complement mine. I trained her, pouring hours into explaining our platform's heart, its algorithms, its patient-first mission, introducing her to clients who trusted my vision. She absorbed it swiftly, her questions veering toward finances and governance, not the lives we saved. You're the dreamer, Nora. She'd say, I'll make it sustainable. Her words, smooth as river stones, began to reshape the company's story, casting her as the practical mind to my idealistic heart. The culture of Vital Sync changed gradually, and Lila's presence pulled at my foundation. At meetings, she framed client victories as our victories, even though I'd earned them through years of trust. At a family get-together, Richard said, "You two are a perfect pair, Nora's tech, Lila's strategy." The oversimplification shattered my decade of hard work, reducing it to only half a narrative. I gently corrected, "I built Vital Sync alone." But Evelyn's dismissive hand on mine was dismissive. "No one succeeds alone, dear. Lila's vision balances yours." Their words eroded my truth, causing a shift in my company's ownership. I swallowed, hoping that harmony would hold, even though the pain of betrayal rumbled inside me like a soft thunderclap. The industry's attention brightened as Vital Sync's valuation reached $100 million. With projections to double, we won innovation awards, and our platform was praised for reducing readmissions and errors. However, Lila started whispering about partnerships. "Building is noble," she said during a strategy session, "but leveraging is wise." My loyal engineers exchanged uncomfortable looks, and my unease grew as a storm cloud gathered. Raj, my chief technology officer, pulled me aside after a meeting, his voice low. "Lila's meeting board members, privately, Nora. Strategy talks she's keeping from you." His warning was a spark igniting doubt, and I dismissed it, saying, "She's building relationships. It's her role." But his eyes were worried. "These are about governance and leadership, not just clients." The seed of mistrust took root, its tendrils curling through my thoughts. I began to notice cracks. Board members grew less transparent, their questions about succession oddly timed for a company soaring. Lila's presentations subtly undercut me. "Nora's tech is visionary," she'd say, "but we must balance it with market realities." Her tone, laced with concern, painted me as a dreamer needing her tether. In marketing, my role as founder faded. Vital Sync's leadership team replaced my name in press releases. When I questioned it, the marketing director faltered. "Lila approved it. I assumed you knew." Clients began citing Lila's words. "Your sister mentioned you're open to acquisitions," a hospital CEO said, confusion in her eyes. "That's not what you told me." I confronted Lila privately, her surprise too polished. "Just market talk, Nora." They must have misunderstood. Her deflection was a gust stirring the storm within me. My parents' visits intensified. Richard touring with Lila, Evelyn, lunching with board members, calling it getting to know the Vital Sync family. Their words echoed our company, a claim that erased my solitary nights, my maxed-out cards, and my vision born from Clara's loss. The storm broke at a client dinner. Dr. Maria Hensley, our biggest hospital partner, said, "Your co-founder has bold plans for Vital Sync's future." Her words struck like lightning. "Lila's not a co-founder." I corrected, heart pounding. Maria frowned. She presented as one at the Health Tech Summit. US Tech lead her as business architect. The betrayal crystallized. Lila's slides had rewritten history, claiming equal creation. I confronted her that night, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. "You're lying to clients, rewriting my role." She sighed. "Perception matters. Nora? Investors want balanced leadership. I'm elevating us." Her justification twisted. "You're brilliant at code, but I'm shaping the narrative." The argument flared, her composure cracking. "You've always been their genius, Nora. Let me shine too." Her words revealed a rivalry I'd never named, a wound she'd nursed as long as I'd carried mine. As she stormed out, my parents called Lila's upset Nora. "She's trying to help. Be grateful." Their defense was a thunderclap, blinding me to the depth of their plan. I lay awake, the storm within raging, knowing the battle for Vital Sync was only beginning. Once a sanctuary of code and purpose, my office now transformed into a battleground, with its walls echoing the subtle shifts in power that I'd been too trusting to identify. As the industry's eyes were on us and the company's valuation climbed toward $200 million, I felt the ground crumbling beneath my feet. Lila's shadow lengthening, her ambition a blade poised to carve my legacy from me. I stood at the edge of this betrayal, my heart a drum of defiance, knowing that I must forge a path to reclaim what was mine, even as my family's hands reached to steal it. My resolve ignited, serving as a beacon amidst the encroaching darkness, directing me towards a confrontation that would challenge the resilience of my foundation. Lila's actions became increasingly daring, her influence exerting a powerful pull on the company's core. She met privately with board members, her charm a veil over discussions of governance and succession. Their secrecy a sting I felt in hushed tones and averted eyes. At a strategy session, she questioned my roadmap for VitalSync's predictive analytics. Nora's vision is bold, she said, her smile sharp, but we must prioritize scalability over innovation. Her words cloaked in reason, won nods from newer board members, while Raj, my CTO, gripped his pen tighter, his loyalty a silent shield. I countered, innovation is our edge. It saves lives, but her narrative took hold, painting me as a dreamer unmoored from business realities. The marketing materials shifted further, my name as founder erased, replaced by VitalSync's leadership, Lila's face prominent in press shots. When I challenged this, the director stammered. Lila said it was strategic. I thought you approved. The betrayal deepened, a river cutting through my trust. The role of my parents became more apparent, and their visits were no longer casual. Richard strode through the office, his voice loud with ownership, telling a developer, "This place is a family triumph," with Lila by his side. Evelyn hosted lunches with board members, her laughter a lure, just bonding with the VitalSync family. But I overheard her tell a director, "Lila's business mind is what this company needs." Their words were a wind, rewriting history, portraying Lila as co-creator, erasing my years of sleepless nights, my maxed-out loans, and my grief for Clara. At a family dinner, Richard toasted, "To the Blake sisters building an empire together." The lie burned my fork, shaking in my hand, and Evelyn's dismissive sigh was dismissive. "Don't be dramatic, Nora. Family shares success." Their denial was a blade twisting in the wound of my childhood, where Lila's light always outshines mine. Clients pointed to Lila's contradictions, saying, "Your sister hinted at a merger." A hospital VP said, bewildered, "You said independence was key." I confronted Lila once more, her office shining with awards I'd won, and she leaned back saying, "You're undermining me." My voice aflame. Her words echoed Richard's old dismissals. "You've always been their favorite, Nora. You're too technical to see the big picture," she said, her mask falling off. "I'm carving my place." Her rivalry, raw and ancient, was a thunderclap revealing a wound she had concealed behind her charm. I left, my heart racing, but Evelyn called quickly, "Lila's devastated, Nora. She's helping you. Don't push her away." Their defense was a storm, blinding me to the depth of their plan, but the pieces fell into place: private meetings, rewritten narratives, a calculated siege. Lisa, my executive assistant, warned me in a low voice, "Lila scheduled a meeting with your parents and our lawyer, Nora." Nora did not extend an invitation to you. The revelation was a lightning strike, revealing their intent. I went over company documents, my eyes burning through legalese, and I found the trap set in early funding rounds. My need for money had led me to accept Richard's investment through a family entity whose preferred shares carried voting rights that I had overlooked in my fatigue. Those shares, when combined with Lila's executive equity, gave them control, a net I had walked into without thinking twice. The betrayal was a blade not sudden, but refined over years, their faith in Lila's charisma over my vision, a wound as old as my childhood. As I paced my office, the distant pulse of city lights signaled the impending storm. My heart, raw with hurt, burned with a fierce clarity. I would not let them steal VitalSync, my tribute to Clara, my proof of worth. The dinner that shattered my world came under the guise of family alignment. Evelyn's antique china gleamed under chandelier light, a stage set for their ambush. Lila arrived late, her business attire a stark contrast to the warmth of family. Richard's demeanor shifted as he set down his fork. "Nora, we've consulted experts on VitalSync's future," he said, his voice cold. "Leadership must evolve." Evelyn slid documents across the table, their pages outlining a restructuring, Lila as CEO, me demoted to CTO. The justification was clinical, balancing innovation with market strategy, but the truth was raw. "You built the product," Nora, Richard said. "Lila will build the company. You're the builder, not the leader." The words echoing his childhood dismissals were a blade through my heart. My decade of sacrifice, sleepless nights, broken health, lost love, reduced to a footnote. Lila's eyes met mine, her expression practiced sorrow. This is best, Nora. You'll focus on tech free from business burdens. Her gaslighting was a gust reframing theft as a gift. I stood my voice steady despite the storm inside and said, "You've manipulated shares and misled me. This is my company." Richard's face tightened. "The family entity holds controlling interest. Your shares don't outweigh ours." The revelation was a thunderbolt, my early trust in them, a trap. Evelyn's voice soft. "We're protecting vital sync, Nora. Lila's skills will sustain it." The lie was a wound, their faith in Lila's unearned ambition a betrayal deeper than the corporate coup. The night air was sharp, my breath a cloud of defiance. As I drove, the city's pulse mirrored mine, a plan forming in the dark. I called my first client, Dr. Elena Voss, my voice breaking. "They're taking vital sync." Her cool response was a lifeline. "Your thoughts. What do you see?" Their treachery had cut deep, but I would shape it into a shield, ready to confront the storm's core. "Start there," she said, sparking a plan to recapture my fire. As I drove away from my parents' ambush, their treachery a blade buried deep in my heart. Vital Sync, my creation born of grief and grit, stood on the brink of theft, with Evelyn and Richard's calculated moves and Lila's ambition threatening to tear it from my grasp. However, Dr. Voss's words reverberated like a steady drum. "What did they take, Nora? Your thoughts. What do you see?" Her words were a spark that ignited a fire of defiance. My apartment, which was small and quiet, turned into a war council, and its walls bore witness to a plan that had been forged in the furnace of pain. I refused to let them take away my legacy, my homage to Clara, and my evidence of value. As dawn broke, a fierce light led me to use my loyalty and intelligence as weapons prepared to fight back and reclaim the son of my creation. I paced restlessly my laptop, a map of the heart of my empire, cataloging what they had taken: corporate governance, the board's loyalty, the story of Vital Sync's rise, and what was still mine. The predictive analytics engine, my most recent innovation, resided on private servers under my control. Its unpatented code, a treasure beyond their reach. Client trust earned over years of my handshake and promise was bound to me, not Lila's charm, with contracts naming me as a key person. My team, Lisa, and the engineers who had chosen Vital Sync over tech giants were loyal to my vision, their equity vesting under change of control clauses. These were my roots, deep and unyielding, and I would wield them with ferocity. At 7 a.m., Raj texted, "Board meeting notice. Leadership restructuring." "What's happening?" His words were a call to arms, so I didn't respond right away, but instead made 3 calls. First, to our patent attorney, Clara Nguyen. "Review the ownership of the analytics engine, urgently." Second, to employment lawyer, Marcus Tate. "Options for key staff under hostile takeover." And third, to venture capitalist Sophia Reyes, who had long courted my next project. "If I move with my team and tech, what's possible?" Their voices brought a refreshing lift to my spirits. My apartment became a command post by 9 o'clock. Raj showed up with his ferocious gaze and 5 members of my core team. Engineers, security architects, and client liaisons risked their careers to support me. Their unspoken but unwavering solidarity warmed my wounded heart. "Lila is now CEO," I said steadily. "My parents used share manipulation to seize control." Raj's question pierced through. "What's our counter-strike?" The hour was a lifeline binding us as family. We established secure channels and divided up the work. 2 developers documented the creation of the analytics engine, proving my personal work on the weekends and nights. Our security lead locked development servers, protecting unreleased code while leaving production systems unaltered. Lisa scheduled routine client calls, sowing seeds of continuity. Clara called at 11 and said, "The engine is yours, Nora." The project was developed outside of company time, which makes it a gray area, but it is strong. Her words served as a shield, and Sophia followed, saying, "With your team and tech, I'll secure $20 million in 48 hours, $35 million with client commitments." Their support was a resounding clap, igniting my passion. The board meeting, a stage for their victory, was approaching at 2 p.m., and I had to decide whether to attend, pretend to agree, or act from absence. My team urged the latter, saying, "They expect tears or surrender." Raj said, "Not strategy." I sent a message to Lila, Evelyn, and Richard that read, "Taking personal time, considering options." The ambiguity of my message served as a veil concealing the chaos I intended to unleash. Lila promptly replied, "I understand. We will proceed with a vote and formalize the decision. Let's discuss your tech role tomorrow." At 3:15, her text confirmed transition approved. I'm CEO. Meet tomorrow, family dinner Friday. The casual theft of my life's work ignited my resolve, and at 4 p.m., surrounded by my team, I made the seismic call: file a provisional patent for the analytics engine under my name immediately. Our second strike was sparked by Raj, who sent an email from my personal account to our 15 biggest clients saying, "As VitalSync's founder, I inform you of leadership changes made without my consent. Lila Wilson is CEO. I'm relegated to a technical role. This action triggers key person clauses. I'm available to discuss continuity." The words, which were precise and contractual, hinted at my power without betraying trust. Our third move was surgical. My team restricted access to development servers, protecting our next-generation code without impairing operations. At 4:23, Lila called, her voice shaking. "What have you done?" "Nora." Calmly, I responded to her threat that the board will fire you, saying, "This isn't sabotage, it's consequence. You stole what I built. I'm protecting what I created." "Clients are panicking, developers ignore orders, and legal's reporting your patent," I said. She said, "Mom and Dad are furious," and Dad's face went white at the patent news. And I imagined his shock. Their belief in total control was shattered. "We need to talk," she admitted, and I agreed. "Tonight with the board." The board scheduled an emergency meeting for 7 p.m., and I felt armed and ready to confront their storm. Poor strategy. Richard opened, "This is unconscionable, Nora. Using company tech as leverage betrays corporate ethics." His hypocrisy was a gust fanning my fire. I walked into the boardroom with Raj and Marcus, my technical and legal shields in place. The air was thick. Evelyn and Richard were rigid. Lila's poise was frayed, and the board members were shifted, their confidence shaken by the day's unraveling. Like manipulating shares to oust a founder, I asked. Deceiving customers. Covert board operations, Raj stated. We have good production systems that protect only unreleased assets. Lila attempted to sidestep the matter, saying, "These charges distract from the issue. Server limits damage clients." The chairman, feeling apprehensive, inquired, "What's the IP dispute?" The private equity member said, "Without Nora's tech and relationships, our valuation collapses." Marcus was exact, saying, "The analytics engine developed on Nora's personal time has ambiguous ownership. It's hers until proven otherwise," Evelyn yelled. "This is extortion," and I looked her in the eye. "No, it's negotiation. You stole governance. I hold the company's heart, tech, clients, and team." In an attempt to recover control, Richard said, "What do you want, Nora?" I answered calmly. "I'm showing you what you overlooked. VitalSync's value isn't in your shares. It's in my mind, my team's loyalty, and my client's trust." Lila urged a private talk, but I refused. Transparency now. The board must see the truth. Two paths emerged: litigation, a public one that would gut VitalSync's value, or restructuring that honored my creation. By midnight, a provisional deal took shape. I'd return as CEO with board independence safeguards. Lila would stay as business development chief, her role limited to her strengths. Evelyn and Richard would shift to advisory status, their influence curbed. As we adjourned, Richard approached, his voice low. "You outplayed us, Nora. I didn't see this in you." His backhanded praise was a sting, revealing his blindness. "I built systems to withstand storms," I said, "even from family." His flinch was my victory, their huddled exit a shadow of their former certainty. The fire of my counterstrike had burned through their theft, but the dawn of rebuilding loomed my heart fierce, ready to claim my son. As I entered the dawn of my reclaimed world, Vital Sync's heart began to beat again under my stewardship. The fire of my counterstrike had burned away the chains of Lila's ambition and my parents' betrayal, leaving a path lit by my resolve. My office, now a reclaimed sanctuary, pulsated with a company reborn, its $200 million valuation, a testament to my vision, not their theft. However, the scars of their blade lingered, a quiet ache beneath my victory. Evelyn, Richard, and Lila's shadows hovered their tentative steps toward amends like rain testing parched earth. I stood as Nora Blake, no longer the builder seeking their gaze, but a sun rising, my light carving a legacy for lives saved, not approval earned. The world unfolded before me, a canvas of purpose, while my heart resonated with the rhythm of profound roots and ferocious dreams. The agreement's ink dried, restoring me as CEO with safeguards, independent board members, transparent governance, ensuring no shadow could steal my fire again. Lila, now Chief of Business Development, worked within boundaries, her charm harnessed to client relations, not control. Evelyn and Richard, relegated to advisory roles, faded from the office's daily rhythm, their influence a whisper I no longer heeded. Vital Sync's culture bloomed anew. Weekly meetings replaced secrecy with truth. Our mission is lives transformed, I told my team, their eyes bright with shared purpose. Engineers, once poised to flee, unveiled bold projects and AI to predict patient crises. A portal for rural clinics, Raj, my anchor, led with a fire matching mine. Clients, reassured by my return, deepened ties. Dr. Maria Hensley, our largest partner, said, "Your integrity held us, Nora. That's rarer than tech." Her words were a root grounding my mission. Vital Sync's valuation soared past $300 million, 2 million patients were touched, and a song of impact was louder than any dollar. My new home, a loft with windows overlooking the city's dawn, became my sanctuary. Its walls contained books from Clara's shelf, and the balcony had a garden of herbs. I prepared meals for friends such as Raj, Lisa, and Sophia, restoring my frayed health through sleep and stargazing walks. Dr. Elena Voss joined me for coffee, her voice soothing like a calm lake, and she said, "You've claimed your worth, Nora. Not for them, but for you." And I nodded, tears in my eyes. Her wisdom was a seed that sprouted boundaries, and I gave where it grew $200,000 to rural health programs, $100,000 to coding camps for kids like me, unseen but fierce. Bright Sync. My foundation launched its grants, lifting nurses training and telehealth for the forgotten. Each act was a star lighting paths for others, and my wealth flowed where it nourished. Lila made a careful attempt to get back in touch, and her emails were professional and centered on client victories. However, she sent out a dinner invitation writing, "I owe you truth, Nora." I met her at a quiet restaurant, and her eyes softened. "I won't lie, I wanted the crown," she said. "But I crossed a line. Can we work forward?" Our professional bond grew, a tethered bridge, not a sister's embrace. Evelyn's letters arrived, and her script trembled as she wrote, "We failed you, Nora. Can we try?" Her admission was a spark, not trust, but a crack in her armor. "Actions, Lila," I said, "not words. Earn it." She nodded, her work proving steadier, closing deals without overreaching. I saw her wound years in my shadow, her parents' praise for my genius a blade she'd turned on me. Richard, who was slower, met me at a cafe and said, "I misjudged you." His voice stiff. "Your strategy was sharp." His concession was a stone, not an apology, but a shift. I set monthly meetings, small steps, their path for me to walk, and we're sorry. "We saw Lila's light, not yours," she said, and I felt her sorrow, but it was a shallow stream. "They steal what they can't create," Maya, a fintech pioneer, said. "You're a leader now, not just a maker." Their wisdom was a wind lifting my wings. At a health tech gala, I awarded a grant to a teens app for diabetes care. Her smile echoed mine at 16. "You're why," she whispered. Raj threw a party. To Nora's son's heart, the cake red, and friends toasted. "To roots," Lisa said. "To truth," I added. Later, by myself, I stood on my balcony with the stars overhead. "No regrets," I told Clara's spirit. The blade forged me. The pain had shaped a strength I hadn't known before my crown now. After 1 year, BrightSync expanded its reach by training medical professionals in underprivileged communities and advising health systems on tech equity. I also gave consultations all over the world and hugged a nurse named Aisha, whose clinic was saved by our platform at a ceremony. She said, "My son breathes because of you." And I started crying. Her appreciation was a link that connected me to Clara's dream. Evelyn texted, "Your birthday Nora dinner." I agreed a small cafe, their effort a contrast to years of absence. "We're learning," Richard said, his hand on mine. "A door ajar, not open my trust. A slow river their actions. Its current driving home, my loft's herbs. Fragrant under moonlight, I saw my path. Vital sync hadn't just survived, it was my soul. Its light, my worth." The betrayal had cleared the fog, revealing a sun. I'd always been my balcony, wine in hand was my peace, tomorrow held growth. BrightSync's expansion family boundaries, new visions. But tonight, I was whole. The girl unseen had turned into a blaze. Her purpose a song no theft could silence, true wealth. Was my heart's fire, a treasure no share could claim. And as stars sang over the city, I stood my spirit soaring, ready for the dawn of all I was. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more journeys about navigating complicated family dynamics, betrayal, and finding the strength to overcome what once felt impossible. Thank you for listening to my journey from the days of betrayal to the moment I reclaimed my worth and everything that rightfully belonged to me. Always remember, those who have the courage to rise and rebuild from the wreckage are the ones who possess the greatest treasures: resilience, bravery, and unshakable belief in themselves. And no one in this world can ever take that away.